Whew. All right, I don't know how the chat is doing, but I finally decided on which one of these two I was going to talk about. Like I said, it was a toss up between Piccolo and Krillin, and I decided to go with Piccolo instead because I didn't want to just do all the humans back to back. So I'll do Krillin next week, and then we can venture into some of the Saiyans. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time what the scheduling or planning of this is supposed to be. And it's kind of it's really interesting because out of the three that we've done so far, so Yamcha, Tien, and Piccolo's definitely had the least of decline in the sense that he doesn't like they've made him weaker than the Saiyans again to prop them up and to show them as being so wonderfully powerful. But he still gets to participate in the story. It's not like with the Blue Arc where Tien just vanishes for the entire thing, except for maybe one episode. He probably has like two lines in that whole arc or three. Yeah, it's really. I guess the way we can start this off is by going to Dragon Ball. So uh, Piccolo has probably, I'd say, the third or fourth best fight in the entire first half of the series. Referring to the manga, it's really brutal. He shows off his ability to go giant, which we've never seen since. And that's actually going to be another thing. Piccolo, I often criticize Goku and Vegeta, not the characters, but the writing of them as being kind of stale in a way because we don't really get to see them ever use new techniques. It's always a new transformation. I thought that was really weird. Uh, so with Piccolo, it's kind of the reverse of that, where he has a bunch of different moves, but other than the stretchy arms and special beam cannon, they all get kind of like basically pushed to the back burner, which is a real shame. Mm. Yeah, they're not. They don't. I guess what is so aggravating about him is that they start him off as this really intimidating villain. You can buy into the idea that he is somewhat evil, and then right after we get his first showing of villainy, where he gets to survive because Goku gives him a sensu bean, we immediately get this 5-year time skip where it's been confirmed that he's been sitting on his hands. I guess he, did do something because he developed the special beam cannon during that time. But God, they really just wanted us to believe that this villain who swore revenge was talking about ruling the world, all of that stuff, decided to just sit on his hands and not actually go after any of these people who he claimed he wanted revenge on for 3 years. Yeah, so when I say 3 years, the 3 years between when he was born and then also when the tournament happened. So that in an 8-year period, he only actually tries to get revenge once and never decides to do anything else. Apparently, see that was really a missed opportunity on Toriyama's part. I'm sorry, Ruben. Did you want me to do it in the late evening or early afternoon? Because I just got up about maybe half an hour ago, a little bit over half an hour ago. But yeah, that was the first waste of his character. That they give us this huge time skip. We don't really see ever what happens during it, and they could have. I always try to explain that when you have time skips, you don't have to show some enormous flashback, but you can simply have the character say, "This happened." Um, just to give kind of like a comparison with the original Star Wars trilogy. Again, before the prequels and sequels came out, you never had any flashbacks. You were just told about someone's past. So you had, Obi-Wan tell Luke about, what Darth Vader used to be to get the point that all they have to do is have a character say, "Hey, this person tried to attack us last year and we barely survived." And that would have immediately sold the fact that Piccolo was a villain. Because if I'm to believe that, Toriyama has any kind of ability to foreshadow, it's like once he decided to settle on the Saiyans as the initial threat in Z, he just moved so quickly to like that's why a lot of people who haven't seen Dragon Ball really kind of just treat Piccolo as this this always a good guy hero type of character, and it really isn't the case. He has a very similar arc to Vegeta, where they have an arc where they're the main threat, and then in subsequent arcs they're an ally. And someone actually did point out the parallels between the two, where in their first arc, so the Piccolo Junior arc for Piccolo, or the arc where they're the villain, they push Goku to his limit. They almost die. He chooses to spare them, and then in the second arc they're in, they're one of his main or top allies, uh, which is followed by their death toward the end of the arc. So in the Saiyan arc with Piccolo, and then in the Frieza arc with Vegeta. But yeah, Piccolo's. I will say he probably has the most. Like the thing with a lot of the character development that comes in Z is that it's not really you don't get to see it. It's just sort of implied. Like I remember Ruben at one point mentioned, "Oh, well, Krillin ended up with the best chickens in all of this whole series." I'm like, yeah, but we didn't actually see them interact until the Boo arc. Like it was just kind of little subtle hints, and a lot of that has to do with Toriyama not wanting to write romance. So we're led to believe that in that 7 year period they just got together magically, or that's when the chemistry started to occur. Ruben says demoting Piccolo from a cool and awesome demon lord into an asexual reproducing slugman alien really sucked. Oh, we're getting into that. Let me just, you know, what this is. I try to go in chronological order. Give me a little chance to to breathe. No, but I will say the Saiyan arc ahead of Nappa and like between when they fight Raditz and when Nappa and Vegeta arrive, the best parts to me are the ones with Piccolo and Gohan because you don't really like to see the previous arc's villain go from being this antagonistic, standoffish kind of individual to his arch nemesis' son is just they portray it really well, and they portray it so well that what's his name Kishimoto stole that idea and used that for Sasuke and Boruto. For those of you that follow Naruto, which I already talked about how it was in decline for me after a while, but I could say about a lot of long running series. Um, it's just it was so nice to see that. I probably the only thing that maybe I would have preferred is if they had used that as an excuse to show Gohan learning some new moves, because the only thing he really gets from Piccolo is the Masenko, which I don't really have a problem with. It's just I prefer if he had like as a way of showing the bond the two had developed. They had him fire off some attacks and whatnot to signify that he also, that just the closeness of them, that they have similar moves and whatnot. Because some of the games do that where they have go on the future one using special beam cannon. So it would have been nice if that was something that was incorporated into the story. It actually would have been really cool if, let's say, during the fight with Vegeta, so after he goes grade A, that like instead of bringing Yajirobe back for no reason or just as like a surprise twist kind of thing, they have Gohan use a special beam cannon to cut off his tail or the key ends on one of those two moves, or like have both of them fire off at the same time. Like maybe one of them miss, but the other one takes the tail off. Because Yajirobe in that arc for me is kind of just this extra character who happens to do something really important and then kind of just gets immediately pushed to the back burner afterward. So it would have been a nice way to just keep him out of that because I don't get the point of bringing someone back to not do anything with them. Like have any kind of continuous involvement of them in the story. It doesn't make much sense to me. I just, my opinion. But yeah, Piccolo's sacrifice was really good. Um, it would have been nice to see like him kind of interact with Goku again because we don't get that until the end of the Frieza arc due to the deaths and just different ways they keep both of them out of the story. Yajirobe might as well have gotten killed as well. Yeah, especially when you consider that he hasn't actually done anything in the entire series after that of any significance or consequence other than giving people sensu beans and being used in the Cell arc to get Gohan away from the androids. It's really funny, Ruben. They consider Yajirobe's role in the Cell arc to be so minimal that if you play Legacy of Goku 2, they cut out that part of the story where his ship gets shot down, so you can meet the androids as Gohan. You can fight, number 20 and 18 as Gohan. I just like that because it's just proof of what you said. Yeah, he did. He doesn't do anything after that. I think the only thing he does in the Frieza arc is like when they have Goku fighting Frieza, they just randomly cut to Kame House to show like little fun zany stuff going on over there. For all intents and purposes, they could have kept him out of the story just like they did Launch. Nothing would be lost. Yeah, they really just love to waste characters. Um, so yeah, I'd say that's about written all of it for Piccolo and the Saiyan arc. It was really solid role. Probably the best one for maybe any character in there besides Goku and Vegeta and Gohan and Krillin. But we can get into that next week. So they keep him out of the Namek arc, and I guess what kind of annoys me about that is you have some people who will say, "Oh, they should have kept him out because he was dead." They always have characters not do anything when they're dead. It's like, what are you talking about? We had a whole arc of Goku being deceased with first the Saiyan arc, then the Buu arc, and he wasn't out of the spotlight. He just was bound from not interacting with the main cast because of the circumstance of him being deceased. I think it would have been really cool if we had been able to see Piccolo go down Snake's way with the humans, learn some because we do briefly get to see him train a couple of times, but it still isn't anywhere near as involved as when Goku did it. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I guess Toriyama wanted to focus on Namek more. So unless you weren't on that planet, you did kind of like not appear in the story for a couple of years, basically. I'm just saying that's probably the main reason. If I were to speculate, also if I get interrupted, it's because people like to walk back and forth. So God, I hate it. I hate this place so much. We gotta keep him out of the whole arc, and then they bring him back. It's a cool fight, and then right after he's able to keep up competently with Frieza, then he transforms. I've actually seen some people who argue that after the Saiyan arc, Piccolo is just kind of like this additional part of the story that doesn't really need to be there, which I can sort of see what they're getting at, but comparatively speaking, I still think they do more with him than most of the characters, especially in terms of fighting. Yeah, so he gets completely sidelined for the Frieza versus Goku fight, which makes a lot of sense because for whatever reason, after the Frieza arc, they kind of stopped doing the uh, multiple people fighting one person thing, and you do have a lot of people who actually try to, as you saw a person 2 weeks ago claim that Dragon Ball doesn't have two-on-one fights. This isn't Power Rangers, and I proceeded to name all the times that like that's how you know people don't actually watch this show. They just play games like fighters and all the rest of that stuff. Because like, how the hell you watch a show that starts with a 2v1 fight, which is Piccolo and Goku versus Raditz, and then try to tell me that they don't have that? And I was able to name like 4 or 5 of those between the original and then Z as well. After the person raised the goalpost and said they only have those in Super. Jesus Christ. But yeah, he gets taken out so they can prop up Goku. They get him off the planet. Well, that's why I said, Ruben, that for me, the main characters of Z are Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Krillin, and Piccolo. They're kind of doing that right now with the Moro arc, where Piccolo's had the most appearances of any character that's not Goku, Vegeta, or one of the villains. So make of that what you will. I think out of the last maybe 6 or 7 chapters, he's only not been in one of them, which coincidentally turned out to be the most boring in my opinion. But that's what happens when you keep using the same two people over and over again and keeping out the rest of the cast. People start to get a little tired of that. At least in my case. Um, no, the Cell arc. I think they really missed an opportunity because people know the story that 19 and 20 were supposed to be the original villains, and then they swapped them out for 18 and 17, and they got swapped out for Cell, and then he was allowed to transfer all that executive meddling stuff. It would have been really cool to see Piccolo fight one of the androids because, and we did get to see that, I guess, with Cell. But what I was thinking of is that it would have been nice because they have he has regenerative powers as well, although they don't work in the same way. So to kind of see two characters that can regenerate in some capacity going back at each other. Oh, Ruben, did you know that out of all the characters in the original manga, Krillin has the second highest number of appearances? So out of anyone that's not Goku, he appears the most. Did you know that? I should have kept that for the Krillin stream, but I just, that goes back to what you were saying about the two of them getting the most to do. But he does get a nice little scuffle with Android 20, who I will maintain is probably one of the most wasted villains of the entire series. Yeah, it was. I was gonna say that it's really disillusioning because how do you have the guy who makes the androids not a main part of the? And I try to explain that they could have had flashbacks. They could have just had more people explain what he did. They just decided we're gonna make sure he's not even in a third of this arc. And then obviously the fight with Piccolo and Cell is pretty cool. Um, I have said that I think if they were smart, they would have found more Namekians for Piccolo to fuse with. And then they could always use that as the excuse for why he's able to keep up with the Saiyans along with his training. Because, as I mentioned before, he's one of 4 characters that still trains among the, I guess, main cast. So that's Goku, Vegeta, himself, and then Tien. And it's just like because of him and Tien, you can kind of see how horrible the writing is, where you got some guy training for 10 or 20 years and they're weaker than some little kid because they happen to be a Saiyan. And somebody will say, "Oh, well, Gohan was stronger than all the human fighters that were adults." Yeah, but Gohan had training. Like all of the only thing we ever saw him do that was even the slightest bit impressive without training was using the headbutt on Raditz, which he immediately passed out after because Raditz struck him back. So it was just this one good hit he got on his uncle, and all of his feats afterward we can assume between the Saiyan and Cell arc were due to training. In the Buu arc, it was just stupid power ups. Yeah, Android 8 is another wasted. They could really shown something cool. One of the games, Budokai Tenkaichi 3 actually had Android 8 and 16 interact with each other because 16 gets sent back to the past to kill Kid Goku, and then 8 jumps in the way or gets involved. So just saying that's where they try. That's the only place I've seen them try to use him and make his death to be an inspiration for Goku to train more. Yeah, but if they're not going to give him any screen time, I don't really see the point of bringing him back just to kill him off. It's just like with Krillin and GT. You have him out of the whole story, except for a cameo. And in his second appearance, you have him get murdered so that 18 can get mad and to show how evil 17 is. Like, just, I'm good. So if they brought him back and actually let him be a major part of the story, then okay. But outside of that, I'm fine. Because that's the problem with me for the Boo arc, that they just kill everybody off left and right without doing anything. Oh, okay. Now I see. Yeah, you get what I'm saying, that they like to play with death like it's candy, or it doesn't even mean anything anymore. I remember someone actually tried to, because the fight between Piccolo and 17 is called one of the best fights in the series. I saw someone who said, "Oh, Piccolo was so stupid. He went and used it and powered up and made himself stronger so that Cell could, and that allowed Cell to find him in 17." Well, what was he supposed to do if 17 comes to Kame House looking for Goku and wants to fight someone so they can get the information? Was he supposed to just let everyone on there die? Like, because this person was trying to claim that the Cell arc was full of characters doing dumb things, and I don't know what better alternative there would have been to not fighting the hostile androids that want to extract information from the cast about the main character. I just think or about one of the main characters. Doesn't really make much sense to me. Hey Ruben, do you know what else Piccolo could have done without if he was going to intercept the androids from screwing with everybody, other than fight him and thereby power up to stay on par? So I said a lot of the fans they say things that I don't really think makes sense when they if you actually stop and think about it. And like I guess it's just when you have a story that has a set of rules, right? And you know that the androids are depicted as being really strong, you know, not do that. So it's just kind of weird. People like to pretend they're smarter than the writer, and it's cool to think you can do write something better. I've certainly expressed the same view, but like I said, I try to be fair to Toriyama when he, writes something that is consistent. So I'm not going to shame him for something that I don't really see what else could have had that particular character doing that particular circumstance. But yeah, after that, Piccolo's role for the rest of the Cell arc is just kind of sit in the background and do what you do. I remember you actually have the Cell Juniors attack the rest of the Z Fighters at the tournament. It would have been cool to see Piccolo kill one of those, but again, that's the reason they have him and everybody else struggle is to prop up Gohan. So it's basically saying screw your training. It doesn't matter how much you train. You can't even forget fighting Cell. You can't even fight his little inbreed mutant monsters that he put out. Yeah, they're really aggravating for that. But yeah, so he gets to basically uh, get foddered so that Gohan can look more angry. And then one of my favorite parts in the entire show, so one of the filler moments, is when they have him go up with the humans and just start firing on Cell. Toriyama should have made more parodies of characters from other shows and movies to get beaten up by the DB characters. Well, unless you're the main guy or the second main guy, they're not trying to prop you up. Yeah, I do agree that would have been better. Oh, I agree. No, I even said that they should have kept the tournaments as a main fixture of the series, except in the capacity of being, maybe like 7, 8 chapters, kind of not filler, but a component of the story that just is a fixture that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, except to show some character off as being powerful, and then let the humans win those. Yeah, you can tell that Toriyama didn't even know what he was doing with the conclusion for the Cell stuff. It's like You're gonna have this villain go from being the strongest to now being completely outclassed by a person he's never met before after getting upset at the death of someone that he never met before. And now to create some tension, you're gonna have him jump in front of a God, that was the more I think about the ending of the Cell arc, it just gets more ridiculous. Like you're gonna have him lose the control of his arm from a blast that he could have easily deflected so that you we can have a scary ending. Yeah, they wasted they wasted a chance to just like do something cool because instead of having 16, who again Gohan never even met, be the person that sets him over the stage or the edge. Wouldn't it have been better if they had, let's say, Piccolo, for example, have the sensu beans or try to get them back, and then I don't know, maybe Cell cuts off his arm or something and looks like he's gonna kill him, and then that's when Gohan snaps. It would have made perfect sense. Character he's been with for the entire series. The bond's been shown between the two of them before. Just killing 16 off is just a really stupid way to get that form going. Because again, they don't even interact at all that whole arc. I thought that was funny that the Cell arc keeps both Gohan and like it keeps Goku incapacitated, but it keeps Gohan away from the androids for basically the entire thing. So that was really comedic. And then we get to the Boo arc, which God, I don't even. What's a good word to describe Piccolo's role here? Kind of aggravating because there's a lot of missed potential, like more so in this arc than the other ones to really like do stuff that kind of makes him a crucial part of the story. Let me try to see if I can start from the beginning. It would have been cool to see him fight the Supreme Kai at the tournament, but it's all right, whatever. We'll just use him as an excuse for the story to move further. But when they go to Babidi's ship and he gets spit on and turned to stone, and before that you have the remarks about the Saiyans are the main ones who can power up Boo. I'm like, you mean to tell me Piccolo, who's been training for 7 years, is weaker than Gohan, who has not been training at all? That's why I said that, like, just and again, these are the kind of things that get on my nerves that weren't the case for previous arcs because before the Saiyan kids, you never had characters who just didn't train that just magically become stronger or magically stronger than the rest of the cast. Should have been kept as a fighter 2 and 7 already generic one note trope. Man, Ruben, the only time Chi Chi ever actually did anything of any importance was the arc where she was a kid in the manga because they all of her appearances after that arc as a kid were filler, and then the last tournaments, the last Piccolo Junior arc, those only 2 times. I already said it would have been really cool actually if they had her basically say, you know what, I don't want my son to fight these threats, so I'm going to protect him along with my husband so that he doesn't have to ever fight again. Wouldn't that have been way better, Ruben? Like she just decides I'm just going to take over for Gohan. We're just going to put him in the back burner, and the only time he comes out to fight is like a last resort. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of the chicks in the series are just wasted entirely. Like 18 should have fought Boo. Videl should have been trained probably by Piccolo or some other character that is strong. Chi-Chi should stay the fighter, but they decide basically once they stick a baby in you, hey, forget you. The only one that escapes that trend is Bulma, but that's always because she wasn't um, as replaceable as the rest of the cast. So it all adds up. But yeah, they give him. And I even kind of made this point during I think it was the TN stream, that it would have been really cool if we had actually gotten Majin Piccolo along with Majin Vegeta, because you could have a short little like character arc for Piccolo where he's angry over the fact that he's trained for 7 years and is still weaker than a Saiyan, even if it's one he's close to, who hasn't trained at all for that time. And then he's much, and he's like, "Yeah, fight me, show me the strength." Just like it's kind of similar in a way to Goku and Majin Vegeta, but it's from the standpoint of this is someone he really cares about and likes, and that he's disappointed in for not only not training, but he's also upset with himself for not being as strong as the person who doesn't train. I thought that would be a nice little idea to have Majin Piccolo versus Gohan and Majin Vegeta versus Goku. And then, you could have one of the other characters defeat the Bora or do something to him, and then that could be the way that they get Krillin out of being a bird statue. And then they give him this really itty bitty fight with Babidi that doesn't even accomplish anything. Like he just comes back right after that. So what was the point of that? Um, there's a lot of like pointless stuff in the Buu arc. You have a Piccolo versus Babidi fight that doesn't accomplish anything. You have Vegeta blowing himself up that doesn't get rid of Buu. You got fusions which don't defeat the main villain. It's all just spectrum of things that don't end up actually changing anything. Like the only thing that I like about Vegeta's sacrifice is it's good for his character, but I just wish it would have actually done something to Boo other than just, oh, I'm going to make him a bunch of pieces right now. Which again was decided by Toriyama because he, I guess, didn't want to go the easy route of having that attack actually kill Boo and then bringing him back or something. Piccolo and Krillin get sidelined in favor of Goten, Kid Trunks, and Mr. Satan. Oh yeah, I said before that I think if Satan, because Toriyama admitted he really likes Satan, if he didn't just develop like a love for him during that period, he probably would have had Krillin be the one to rehabilitate Boo. It would make a lot more sense because Krillin's much stronger, and they do both have kind of that. Uh, it's like a personality type where they're both into the friendly kind of, oh, don't do this sort of mentality that you might expect. But I thought they were going to go the route of having him train Goten and Trunks because if you remember, Piccolo and Krillin got paired together a little bit at the start of that arc, kind of like how Piccolo and Tien were together for a part of the Cell arc. So I was thinking that they were going to have the two of them train the kids, and that turned out to not be the case. They decided to. I will say, I think of any character that's not a Saiyan, Piccolo has the best role in the Buu arc because he's there even after all the rest of the humans and other characters have been murdered, and pretty much, is only absent for the Kid Buu fight, which, as I said before, is I don't think a good final battle for just if you want to end the series on, you take out the whole cast and make none of them be able to do anything during the whole fight. That was dumb to me. But hey, I don't have a popular best-selling manga, so I'm not validated to say that it was dumb to do that. I guess I keep trying to make this point that you think when you want to have a final big huge battle that ends a series, you would get every character involved. And the Spirit Bomb is like the most lazy way of getting everyone involved because instead of having, Vegeta attack Boo and Gohan attack him and Piccolo, Yamcha, Tien, Krillin, Goku, obviously, you're just going to have the main character, the quote unquote main character, and a character introduced in the second half team up while everybody does this. Man, that was probably, I would say, out of all the series that have ended, just anything I can think of, that's one of the worst final battles. Again, the fight itself is fine, but as the final fight of the series, I really wish they would have at least gotten some other people involved. But they choose to not do that. Yeah, and it would have been cool to actually see Piccolo fight Boo. Because I always have this image in my head. He has that laser vision kind of attack. It would have been so great if he just started incinerating Boo in all these different pieces and trying to cut him up. And like right after he finds out that he's still alive, it would have been nice to see him do that for maybe like a chapter or two. But they decided he's just going to be like, all right, whatever, I'll go vanish. And one of the downsides of him being the trainer for Gotenks during the that arc is that you now have people who say, yeah, they should just keep Piccolo as a trainer. Well, you could make the same argument about any character that used to be a fighter or that is a fighter. You can just say, hey, let's keep them in the back burner and prop up other people. Let's see. Dragon Ball series is not very popular in Japan anymore. It does not sell there. Yeah, it's really it exploded in the US, 20 years ago, around, the early 2000s. Just like in America, they say that everyone's favorite villain is Cell, but then in Japan, everyone's favorite villain is Frieza. So screw the Western audience, basically. I remember they had one poll where uh what place was Piccolo in? I just remember that Goten was in sixth place and he was higher than Krillin, and I was just sitting there shaking my head, wanting to vomit. Like you guys really put the poor man's version of Goku on that list higher than one of the main characters of the series already. I guess that makes sense. Damn. Well, I did like him as a villain. I think it would be cool because see the thing with the androids is that they kind of established if humans have mechanics or turned into cyborgs, just whatever, that people can feasibly believe that they're stronger than strong enough to compete with gods and the rest of the liking of those types of people. So it would be nice to see him have like some arc as maybe not the main villain, but like as a recurring villain or something. Someone that is like a I don't know, just background person, but that still is a part of the story. It would have been cool. They also have there's some game I don't remember which one it is, but they have Piccolo fused with King Piccolo, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I could have easily beaten Boo." And I said that would have been so cool if they did that for the Boo arc, where they have him wish back his dad, and then they fuse, and then he's able to like fight on par with Kid Boo or something. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff they can do to give him a power up. Well, the other thing they can do is to have training actually matter. But we know that's not going to happen because if they did that, they would have to make an excuse for why Piccolo and Tien can't keep up. That doesn't amount to lazy writing. See, one of the smartest things Toriyama did for like why, let's say, Krillin and Yamcha, why they couldn't keep up was because he established they stopped training after Cell. They were just like, yeah, I'm done. This is it. So that same route, if it's taken with the other two, it would make more sense. But since it's not, then it's made even stupider. Like the series is more of a hypocrite for keeping those two still fighting, and then also trying to get us to believe that they can't keep up. It's like no, they can't keep up because of bad writing. That's the real reason. Bad writing and wanting to prop up another character, whether it's Frieza or 17, whoever the flavor of the month is. Should I talk about GT or Super first? I'm gonna go with GT. Um, really horrible role there. God, like all he does in the baby arc is just show up out of nowhere when Goten gets taken down by what was it, Baby Gohan, and then get apparently annihilated, or like he survives the attack somehow, but loses Goten's body and then just vanishes for the rest of the arc. Then in the Super 17 arc, which God, they missed so many opportunities to do things. Um, for the baby arc, it would have been cool to have him at least, I don't know, maybe fight along with Goku. But the problem is they keep him out of that so much that I question what the point of even putting him in there was. And then those propped up characters lose to Goku always overcomes the odds. Yeah. Well, I said before that when they did that in the past, it made sense. Like when they have Tien lose to King Piccolo, it's because he tries to use the Mafuba and the attack doesn't work. And that attack is established to massively drain the energy out of whoever uses it. So when Goku comes and saves the day and Tien can't do anything, it makes sense because of what the story established. It's working within its own rules. To where you can believe that if Goku used that attack, he'd also be really tired and not be able to do anything. Um, they just the writing has gotten worse, is all I'm gonna say. That Toriyama used to really put effort into what he was trying to extol out. But he knows that fans will basically pick up and buy and support anything. So he decides to kind of just say screw it. Yeah, they didn't have much they could do with him in the baby arc other than probably like I'd have to rewrite that whole arc to give him something to do. I think it would have been interesting if there was a side plot where he's just on Earth trying to, I don't know, keep the peace with some of the humans, and then maybe Gohan and Vegeta. Uh, but the Super 17 arc is just, it's so aggravating because I always have this rule that when you kill off a character, you should give them something to do. So in the Boo arc where they kill off everybody, it doesn't, like, even though the whole Earth gets destroyed, it doesn't feel like it matters because you don't know any of the people on the planet. It's just this big, huge number that's supposed to make Boo look impressive, and it's like, yeah, I guess, yeah, whatever. So that's one of the reasons I like the Cell arc so much because no one really that's a good guy dies in that arc. It just feels like Toriyama got to a point where he was like, yeah, the death stuff is getting kind of old. People have been dying enough. I do like that during the Cell games you have I think it's Gohan that remarks that every character there except for himself and Trunks has died out of the good guys or the Z fighters. No, but for Super 17, would have been cool if when Piccolo goes to hell with Goku, he merges with his dad, and they establish that King Piccolo has been fighting all of these different strong enemies over the last 20 years. Yes, he did. He died when Kid Buu destroyed Earth. The only character in the original manga that doesn't die at all is Fortune Teller Baba, and then maybe some other yeah, Hercule. Yeah, that's about it. Well, Yajirobe wasn't at that tournament, so that's why he said that all of them that were there had died before, except for himself and Trunks. Remember, Yajirobe was at the lookout, or Korin's tower, rather. So that's why that comment was made in the story. No, but it would be cool to see two Piccolos versus two 17s, and then maybe they could have either him finish 17 off or do it with the help of Pan and Goku, because Pan also she she just gets dragged. Like, it's really funny because people sometimes forget that Trunks is only a main character of the first arc, and then he just kind of you'd forget he was even supposed to be someone of any importance in that series. But with Pan, she's there for the entire ride, and all she does is just get in the way and screw stuff up and act stupid. During the Shadow Dragon arc would have been it would have been cool to see Piccolo fight Nova Shenron because that particular dragon was brought back by the wish for what was that King Piccolo's youth. So would have been a nice way to kind of wrap up the series where you've got a character because Piccolo, people, and this hasn't, people don't know this because it hasn't been explained in the story, but he still has the reason he always looks the way he does is because he inherited eternal youth from his father because he's his reincarnation. So he kept that ability. He can make eggs. He can do a lot of basically everything his father could and more. So it would be really interesting to see Piccolo fight a dragon that caused him to have the youth that he has. That's why when people say Piccolo should be retired, Piccolo should be retired. Like he's younger than the whole cast except for Gohan. And I guess, obviously Goten and Trunk, they don't really do anything anyway. You say little Elliot, he sets up and then left the building. Imagine you walk into a house, just greet someone and vanish. So yeah, Piccolo could have done a whole bunch in GT if the writers had any kind of competence or understanding. But as we all know, GT stands for Goku Time. I mean Grand Adventure. That's why the one thing I'll give Super credit for is they do use Piccolo more effectively. And then that's a series that I really have no kind of, well, I already said it has some parts I like, and then the majority of it just it always seems to fail the landing. So Battle of Gods, he doesn't do anything other than act as fodder for Beerus. Ooh, look how strong he is. He's taking out all the cast like we've never seen that before. Um, Same thing with and I guess what kills me is I don't have a problem with a character not winning a fight, but if you're not going to have them win a fight, can you at least do it respectfully? Like, it would have been so cool if, for let's say, the characters fighting Beerus before Goku shows up, if you had Piccolo and then Tien and maybe somebody else spend a whole episode trying to fight Beerus and they can't land a punch on him, but they won't give up because they're trying to save Earth, just something that appears to respect the characters for their perseverance, as opposed to here's a minute of them having all of their attacks dodged and made to seem like nothing. So that was another wasted opportunity. And then the Frieza arc, or the Resurrection F arc, pretty much ruins every character that's not Goku or Frieza. Because I said before that even though Vegeta is my favorite, it still was stupid that he wasn't the one to take out Frieza. That made perfect sense. He had the Super Saiyan forms. He had he was going up against a man who killed his whole. It was just such a waste. And again, I'm saying it to someone who's not even a big fan of that character, and that still made so much narrative sense to have him take the win for that. It's being dumb. Like I said, they have a hard on for Goku that they really need to occasionally set aside. But yeah, they have Piccolo die in the adaptation from the show, and people are like, "Oh my god, this is such an emotional moment. Piccolo sacrificed himself for Gohan." Yeah, but he comes right back. And it changes nothing about the story. Gohan doesn't beat the villain or get angry or anything. Like, how crazy this is. Gohan can beat the villain when a random android's head gets stepped on he never met before. But when his mentor gets murdered, it's like, oh, okay, it's all right. And again, he's forced to act that way because of bad writing. But if they couldn't allow him to beat Frieza or to at least do some kind of severe damage, they should have just not had that moment. It added nothing. It's like, yeah, let's kill Piccolo off for the fourth time. What a terrific thing. What a great idea. Yeah, that's why Resurrection F kind of failed for me because when you've got a villain who is a character, a supporting character who is scary enough for the main villain to be terrified of just sitting watching everything, it doesn't the stakes aren't really there. So I said that movie, it had a lot of things it could have done well, but it's just got too much of a non what's a good word for it? too many things are in there that shouldn't be there for a good presentation of a word or of words rather. Um, when the tournament arc happened, so the Universe 6 tournament, and I saw that poster that had it was Goku, Vegeta, Monaka, who I didn't know at the time, Boo, and then Piccolo. I was so excited. I was like, "Oh, they're finally gonna use Piccolo. We're gonna see him take somebody out. He's gonna get some really cool fight." And instead, we get maybe an episode of what him training, and then another one where he gets to fight Frost and gets cheated. And I said, "Okay, cool. They're gonna make this a two episodes because we've seen fights that took that long in the original." But instead of doing that, they decide to basically just say, "Oh no, we're gonna whack off Vegeta. So you can sell the rest of this tournament." So they wasted his character again, except this time with even less sense. And I admittedly do like the fights between Vegeta and the rest of the Universe 6 contestants, except for Hit, because in the show they make it not make sense at all, where he loses while he's in his Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan form, while Goku is in his base form and is doing. But it just was it's inconsistent writing. But between when Piccolo gets taken out and when Vegeta loses to Hit, it's all right. In fact, I really like his fight with Kaba, and we're gonna get into that whenever I do the Vegeta video. That they really wasted the potential of him being a mentor character because they wanted to do all kind of weird stuff for the Goku Black arc. They kind of do a similar thing where it's just Saiyans, and then one, I guess Amasu is like the green person for that arc, and it's kind of annoying because it would have been nice if maybe for an episode, because we saw Goku learn the Mafuba from Roshi. If they had Piccolo teach it to Vegeta, like while it's going on, but instead we get a stupid video on Bulma's phone of Piccolo doing the move, and it's supposed to be for comedic effect, but why couldn't they just show him? Like that's why I think it's so stupid. They could have easily just had him go to the future with them, and then use the move if Goku got tired or somebody else got tired. See, I would have preferred that as an ending to what we got because I do like Goku Black a lot. I think he was a rather unique type of villain because when I saw the design, I was like, oh, here's evil Goku. But the idea that a god stole what they perceived to be the strongest fighter's body and tried to get revenge, you know, on humanity, I thought that was a nice idea, and that character could potentially be revisited if they decided to actually do anything with him. But that was not the case. I didn't want to get started on the Tournament of Power. Well, Piccolo didn't get as horrible of a treatment as Gohan and Krillin, who got propped up to be coming back in some major epic way for really like I still just Japan kills me. They give they gave Krillin all this hype just for him to be the first one knocked out. Like out of all the stuff Piccolo does in that tournament, I guess the most memorable thing. When I say all the stuff, I really should not even be saying that. Is probably oh, that form is never coming. If they're not going to bring in four, then we're not getting five. And I thank God, I'm really sick of these transformations. You won't have any of the characters learn new moves, but they're going to learn a new form every season. Hey, Ruben, next arc, we're getting Super Saiyan Lavender. Everybody's going to look like Trunks from Z. Imagine if that's actually their way of retconning Trunks to have purple hair again. Like they have him always transform. It's just so weird. I don't know why they made his hair blue. That was one of the, and I usually don't ever criticize character designs or the art style, but that was one of the stupidest decisions of any design choice in the whole series. Also, apparently, Toriyama loves the idea of Trunks having like a scarf or a handkerchief in the front because he had the one from GT had that, and then the one from Super had that, and they're supposed to be different characters, so that's just like a thing that he's destined to have for whatever reason. This damn scarf. I wish he would just wear his outfit from the Android arc. That was a way better one. But I guess they pretend it doesn't exist anymore. I think he probably that's one of the things I like about Piccolo that his design doesn't change because when they do the redesigns, they have this high chance of them looking like trash. Like I hate Tien's new design where he used to have the buffed up muscles and he was always the only person that wouldn't put on a shirt. And now he's always covered up from head to toe. Because the torso look was actually kind of distinct. He was the only one that always showed his chest. And they decided to get rid of that. He's looked more intimidating in my opinion with the just being all buffed out and whatnot. Thank God Piccolo doesn't change his design over and over. That'd be terrible. That'd be awful. Yeah, but outside of beating the Universe 6 Namekians, I can't really think of I just remember his elimination was so stupid. Like a guy would he gets taken out by a bug. I remember that episode. That was I think that's probably the most of anything from Z, the most just zany, over the top, ridiculous idea that they were able to come up with. Because I remember that outside of that, my favorite filler moment was the when Piccolo and the humans went to help shoot Cell from the back when he was fighting Gohan. But if I were to pick an episode, it might be the what's her name, Lime or whatever, the one where Mercenary Tao comes back and he's like, "What's your name?" And then Gohan says his name. He's like, "Oh, I thought you were someone named Goku." And then he admits that's his dad. And then we get that flashback at Goku pummeling him, and he gets the tree and flies off on it. But again, I like that because it connects everything. Makes all of them fit together. Mm. Yeah, it's really sad what they do with Piccolo because he has all these different techniques. He just I don't understand what. Well, I know what the reason is because he's not a Saiyan. That's the big thing. But whenever I do the Vegeta stream, you're gonna see a lot of the same themes where basically they take a character, they make him go through all this training, and then they just for whatever reason can't keep up. Because Vegeta's in a similar category. They might give him a new transformation. They might let him have one fight, but they're not going to have him take out the main bad guy ever, which isn't not being done because it's impossible, but because the writers, they haven't faced any kind of backlash that would cause them to make a decision like that. Because Japan does instinctively have a like suck off Goku kind of mentality. Universe 4 could have won if that bug hit the way through. Well, I thought that they were going to have Piccolo fuse with one of the Universe 6 Namekians, and then that way Universe 6 would still be in the tournament. So they wouldn't get erased all the way through until the Universe 6 Namekian was like, all right, you know what? Thank you for saving my universe. Thank you for keeping us in this long. I appreciate it, but I got to forfeit because, whatever. And then that's when they wish to bring him back. That would have been a new power up. It would have kept in line with the series lore. And I don't think anyone would have complained about it. News reporter guy become new hyped up. The news reporter guy. Ask me all you mean the one that was at the Cell games with the glasses? I just want to clarify. Make sure that I know what you're talking about. Don't want to appear to be ignorant. But I was gonna say Piccolo's role in the yeah, they I don't know what why they well Elliot, you know that the only people that are allowed to have forms are Saiyans. If you're not part of that race, you might as well give up the chase. Right, everything. I think that's pretty much it. Out of the characters that have been used for the Galactic Patrol Prisoner arc, as I mentioned before, he has the best role that's not Goku or Vegeta among the Z fighters. So they have this one chapter where he just beats up the escaped convicts that come to Earth, and then in the chapters after that, he fights 7-3, which is one of the top agents for Moro. I say probably the one that's gotten the most screen time out of any of them. That isn't Moro himself. Um, him and he fights him, he fails, and then Gohan shows up, and he gets to train for 2 months and fight again. It's just it's been nice to see the other characters doing some stuff. But again, I do think they're kind of too afraid to veer away from Goku and Vegeta. So that's why those moments are still kind of they feel far few and in between. What if Super reveals that you can change your race to Saiyan next? Well, that would be dumb. They just need to give Krillin Ultra Instinct, give Piccolo a god form like Elliot said, and then we'll be straight. Then give TN some new form that can you can get from being spiritual as well. That's what kills me. I don't know why they don't just give the humans new forms and say this is how they got stronger. Because they're doing they should go that route because they don't like showing people training ever. And that's cool, but you gotta have some explanation for this. You can't everybody can't be 17 where they just magically come back stronger for no reason. So that's the biggest issue with this story. Yeah, they just waste Piccolo so much. It would have been cool to see him fight Black, especially since Black killed. It's funny. The only member of Goku's family that apparently didn't get murdered by Black was Gohan, and they never really tell us. Well, they kind of infer that he killed the rest, but we don't get to see it. So it would have been nice to see that. I remember someone actually made a little story where Piccolo fought Deborah, and Deborah like spit you know the the stone the stone spit he used that on him, but it got to the turban and Piccolo took it off, and then like while he's fighting Deborah, he grabs his stone turban and just smacks him over the head with it, knocks him. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. We'll do Krillin next week, and then after that we can do some of the Saiyans. So hope you had a good time. Enjoyed the when will we meet Goku Black's brother, Raditz Black? That's funny. Someone on Kensenshu actually said they wanted there to be a what's a good way of phrasing this? A Goku Black esque version of like Vegeta, Piccolo, all the other characters. And apparently, this is back when they thought it was going to be just evil versions of everybody. I thought that would have been kind of, if nothing else, it would have made the other characters kind of have to get involved. But I mean, that's just another thing that they decided not to use. I remember when that arc started, I was like, Goku Black isn't Goku because his skin is darker. And then they show that after he switched places with him, that the body just became tanner for some reason. Like, well, they got me. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you next week. Or rather, I'll stream tomorrow about something else, and then I'll do another Dragon Ball stream on Sunday. So see you.